Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Hello. Hour number 2 of the Line Talk 99.5. I will say this, uh, and I know this is cheesy, but last week, we started doing some food review videos. And you may say to yourself, Andrew, you're still in that from Richard Dixon. Well, maybe I am. What is he gonna do? Sue me? You gonna sue your coworker?
Does he do online food reviews?
I don't know.
I don't think he does. So, you know.
They do their wing. I think they're in the middle of their wing tour.
Yeah, they are. Man, they went to Jefferson's. That's near my house. Man, I wish they'd let me know.
We just thought about it on a whim, and we started it. We did it during a members only show on Thursday, and then we're just doing it for extra content, and it's only going up on YouTube. So what we'll do is when we do one, we'll put it up as a members only video for about 3 or 4 days, and then it'll go public. So like Peyton and I did one Saturday, and it's up. It's available for people that are members on the YouTube
too,
channel.
man. I enjoyed that.
And on Wednesday it'll go public, and anybody can watch it. But
And Peyton, what's the deal, man? He looks like he's 21.
yeah, he looks grown up. But yeah, we're doing that just to put extra content out there. I know it's kind of cheesy, and we may do different things. We may do reaction videos and stuff like that just to put out on the side outside of our normal, Tuesday and Thursday podcast. We'll have one Tuesday night. You don't have a 911, do you?
No,
Okay.
no, 911. And I wanted to apologize to the old country lawyer who I had to cancel at the last minute. But he's set and ready to go for Tuesday.
Okay. And Tuesday being tomorrow, right?
What?
Tuesday is tomorrow.
Yes.
Okay.
And
you're good Thurssday as well.
Now the old country lawyer isn't.
No,
but
no.
I am. I am.
I
yeah.
just want to make sure that we.
Yeah.
Because at the beginning, I'm going to try to make it a habit at the beginning of the week, making sure that you don't have anything, so we can not.
The only place that kind of messes things up is Margarita Grill, because I have music 7 nights a week. But everywhere else I play, it's Saturday night pretty much.
Yeah.
Occasionally Friday.
All right. So we'll do that. We'll have that for you tomorrow night. What else? I feel like there's something else we did that I need to put out there. Or am I just making that up? Brr. I guess that's it, right?
Yeah, of course it is.
Let me look.
I thought this through, and it is. That is it. Nothing else.
Okay, yeah, that's it. Okay, all right, yeah, that's it. All right, so Lindsey Graham, if you want to get in, by the way, 205-545-9950. He, as you know, died, I guess, late Saturday night, early Sunday morning, just hours after getting back from Ukraine, and it was very sudden, and we'll talk about exactly what happened and everything else. But I think in retrospect, because I've talked to multiple people about this, some of which have been, oh man, that's shocking, I hate that. Other people have literally been dancing in the street. Maybe not literally dancing in the street, but finding joy in the passing of Lindsey Graham. And I don't, and I'm not saying that's just Democrats, like Democrats and Republicans both. There is a lot of people in the anti-Israel camp that was very against Lindsey Graham. And, I think Lindsey Graham had a lot of faults. Obviously, John Bird bringing up the Princess Wand at Disney World, which was very strange. I fully think that Lindsey Graham was gay and just didn't want to admit it. Maybe he didn't even have a boyfriend, but he wasn't married. He didn't have any kids. Like, he was gay. He was probably gay. All right, so that's whatever. But there were other times, if you take away the fact that, he found himself in awkward places like that. You take away the fact that he was a warmonger and just wanted to bomb the ish out of everybody, which even if you dive into that, you can look at as far as his military record and the era that he grew up in, and the Cold War, and why he thinks the way he does. You kind of understand the mechanics of it as to why he feels that way. It's a peace through strength, which isn't necessarily a wrong philosophy, but you can be too trigger happy when it comes to exerting that strength in pursuit of peace. And I think Lindsey Graham, as well as others, were one of those. Were there were many back when John McCain was still alive. They were kind of a tight knit group that did like to just go around and drop bombs. If you take that aspect of Lindsey Graham away and look at the other things he did, especially when it came to sticking up for Trump and really being at the forefront of the Save America Act, which he was, it was, he wasn't all bad. I think he really was a good asset for the movement in the big picture for the MAGA movement. But outside of all of that, he's a human being, and you shouldn't celebrate the death of a human being in any scenario whatsoever. So I hate it. Obviously the politics of it's going to get complicated, and I hope that Republicans don't fumble the ball with this, because Democrats are absolutely going to try to take advantage of it. One of Lindsey Graham's finest moments, and I know a lot of people have been pointing this out, but it was the first thing I thought of, and it's when I try to think about the good Lindsey Graham, it's the one thing that I remember the most, in particular because I was live on the air when this was happening. It was the Brett Kavanaugh confirmation. And during that confirmation, y'all remember how all that went down. You had, what was her name? Ford. What was her first name? She was supposedly a doctor, Dr. Ford. She had come out of nowhere and made accusations against Brett Kavanaugh that he had raped her and all this stuff in high school or college or whatever it was. And of course, there was no evidence of it, and there was no evidence of Brett Kavanaugh being that type of person whatsoever. But they went into a whole thing and talked about him drinking in college and basically just tried to wreck the man's reputation, not because of Brett Kavanaugh, but because Democrats wanted to prevent Donald Trump from appointing a Supreme Court justice, which I believe, if I'm not mistaken, that was his second pick. I think Neil Gorsuch was the first one. Brett Kavanaugh was the second one. And was he replacing Ruth Bader Ginsburg? Who was he replacing? I can't remember. But he was somebody that the Democrats thought they could hold off. It was 2018, by the way. And they thought they could hold off on getting and allowing him to take that seat to the next presidential election and allow a Democrat president to make that appointment. It obviously didn't work. But Lindsey Graham's questioning during that confirmation hearing, I think, was the best of the whole thing. And I thought that it showed the good side of Lindsey Graham. I thought it showed the fighting side of Lindsey Graham, where he was sticking up for what was right. And for somebody that got elected to Congress back in 2003, again, we can talk about term limits and everything else, but he had been in there since 2003. He had made a lot of friendships. He was in politics back when Democrats and Republicans could go out and fight in public, but then would have dinner afterwards, and they were all on the same team to screw the American people. these are people that he was friends with, and it was at that point, just 2 years, less than 2 years into the first Trump term, that he realized the people that he had become friends with on the other side of the aisle were not going to be his friends. We're willing to ruin their friendship over politics because of how they were acting during the Kavanaugh hearing. This was Lindsey Graham's line of questioning during the Brett Kavanaugh hearing, maybe his finest moment.
Did you meet with Senator Dianne Feinstein on August 20th?
I did meet with Senator Feinstein.
Did you know that her staff had already recommended a lawyer to Dr. Ford?
I did not know that.
Did you know that her and her staff had this allegations for over 20 days?
I did not know that at the time.
If you wanted an FBI investigation, you could have come to us. What you want to do is destroy this guy's life, hold this seat open, and hope you win in 2020. You've said that, not me. You've got nothing to apologize for. When you see Sotomayor and Kagan, tell them that Lindsey said hello, because I voted for them. I would never do to them what you've done to this guy. This is the most unethical sham since I've been in politics. And if you really wanted to know the truth, you sure as hell wouldn't have done what you've done to this guy. Are you a gang rapist?
No.
I cannot imagine what you and your family have gone through. Boy, y'all want power. God, I hope you never get it. I hope the American people can see through this sham, that you knew about it and you held it. You had no intention of protecting Dr. Ford. None. She's as much of a victim as you are. God, I hate to say it because these have been my friends. But let me tell you, when it comes to this, you're looking for a fair process. You came to the wrong town at the wrong time, my friend. Do you consider this a job interview?
The advice and consent role is like a job
You
interview.
consider that you've been through a job interview.
I've been through a process of advice and consent under the Constitution. Which
Would you say you've been through hell?
I've been through hell and then some.
This is not a job interview.
Yeah.
This is hell.
This
is going to destroy the ability of good people to come forward because of this crap. Your high school yearbook. You have interacted with professional women all your life, not one accusation. You're supposed to be Bill Cosby when you're a junior and senior in high school. And all of a sudden you got over it. It's been my understanding that if you drug women and rape them for 2 years in high school, you probably don't stop. Here's my understanding. If you lived a good life, people would recognize it, like the American Bar Association has the gold standard. His integrity is absolutely unquestioned. He is the very circumspect in his personal conduct, harbors no biases or prejudices. He's entirely ethical, is a really decent person. He is warm, friendly, unassuming. He's the nicest person. The ABA. The one thing I can tell you, you should be proud of. Ashley, you should be proud of this. That you raised a daughter who had the good character to pray for Dr. Ford. To my Republican colleagues, if you vote no, you're legitimizing the most despicable thing I have seen in my time in politics. You want this seat? I hope you never get it. I hope you're on the Supreme Court. That's exactly where you should be. And I hope that the American people will see through this charade. And I wish you well, and I intend to vote for you, and I hope everybody who's fair-minded will.
I think that was his finest moment.
Wow. That was powerful.
I remember I was at the other radio station when all that happened, and I remember us carrying that live, and I thought, man, that's what I like to see, because we had known, we had been through that whole process, and that was the same year that they were doing that exact same thing to Roy Moore, if you recall. Roy Moore, obviously an awful candidate, and because of that, you know, you got Senator Doug Jones. But I mean, it was as if that was the tactic of the left for that era. And if you notice, that doesn't happen a whole lot anymore. You can say Graham Plattner, but that one seems more legitimate than a political hit job. It doesn't happen anymore because people had gotten desensitized to it. The Democrats had kind of used up all their bullets when it comes to false allegations for political reasons. Brett Kavanaugh obviously ended up confirmed in that situation, but to the point of Lindsey Graham, I thought that was, that's the kind of, that's the kind of stuff I think he should probably be remembered by, and not the bad stuff. Again, he's human. He's a human being, and we tend to think of politicians as less than human, and sometimes that's deserved. But I think Lindsey Graham was probably a good dude when it came down to it, and I'm basing that off of what I see and hear, and in particular from people that know him. Obviously, a lot of people have been on TV and colleagues talking about him. Trump had a lot of great things to say about him, and you could actually tell. And I'll give you some of this on the other side. You could tell Trump was distraught by the news of the passing of Lindsey Graham. We got all that for you and more coming up right after this. I'm trying to talk about the very serious topic of Lindsey Graham, and because I have ADD or whatever it is, I'm now watching a video of an umpire that got hit in the nuts not once, not twice, but 3 times in 4 innings. And not once did he think at any time, should I go get a cup and put it on?
What happened to that big old thing they would hold in front of them?
I don't know. This looks like a Little League game.
Ah.
But the noise he made every time he got hit was the best. It was like, and then you could hear someone on the third one shout, "He's dead," because he just kind of like he gets hit and he just falls to the ground and just lays there. Although I feel bad for him. So Lindsey Graham, the reaction to Lindsey Graham, I want to go through that before I actually talk about before I talk about what happened and what could have possibly happened. Trump actually made the rounds on some of the more hated shows like Meet the Press with Kristen Welker, and he called in. They agreed he would call in to talk about Lindsey Graham, and these little ish-head reporters tried to end up getting him to talk about other stuff like the Strait of Hormuz, and he's like, it's not what we agreed on. It's not why I called you. Listen to part of his appearance from yesterday, and you can hear it in his voice. Like he is upset by this. I don't think I've ever heard the president sound this way.
President Trump, thank you for joining us, and my condolences to you.
Well, thank you. He's a tough one to lose. He was great. He was unique in every way, actually.
He was, Mr. President, and I know that we are all just absorbing this news. We are all in shock. Can you tell us, Mr. President, how you received this news and your immediate gut reaction when you heard it?
So what makes it even stranger is that I got a call last night sometime in, the early evening, maybe in the 7s, and he called and he said, we're all set for the Save America Act. He was pushing the Save America Act like crazy. He got back, said he just landed from Ukraine. I said, that's a long trip to make. He said, he sounded a little tired, but perfect, but a little bit tired. I had a right to be. And he was a worker. He was really a worker. But he sounded great, actually. But he actually said he was tired. But he wanted to pass the Save America Act. And I said, well, we're going to get it done, Lindsey. We're going to get it done. I'll see you soon. We thought maybe we might even meet today. And then that was it. And that was, very around the time. It couldn't have been much longer. It could have been his last call. I don't know exactly. But I got a message about 1 o'clock in the morning from one of the people at his office that he had passed away. I said, I just can't believe it. He was like a member of the family to me. It's very tough, actually. It's amazing.
Mr. President,
he was such an advocate. He was, if he wanted to get something, and he had a unique ability. He was able to deal with Democrats and Republicans. If I had a problem, a real problem, I wouldn't often ask. But if I had a problem with a Democrat, he could work it out. He was a great politician, actually.
That was the one thing that was amazing about, I think, him being an asset for the president is the fact that he had those relationships with some Democrats and was able to get some things done or find some middle ground in, getting the president's agenda pushed. But you could hear in his voice, he's upset. The president's upset, and I don't remember hearing him that way. And at some point, Chris, I think it was actually at the beginning of that interview, Kristen Welker was like, Mr. President, if you don't mind, I want to ask you about the Strait of Hormuz. He's like, I don't want to talk about the Strait of Hormuz. That's not why I agreed to call you. He's like, I'm not. He didn't say this, but he's like, I'm not calling fake news, NBC, to talk about that. I'm calling you to talk about Lindsey Graham. And then, ironically enough, he called CNN, talks to Jake Tapper, who tries to do the same thing. Listen to how this call went.
Iran has declared the Strait of Hormuz closed. Is that true, Mr. President?
It's open as far as we're concerned. Don't talk about it. Talk about the reason that you asked me to speak.
Okay. We appreciate your
But it's
time,
open.
sir. Before I let you go, is there any other final word that you want the American people to know about Lindsey Graham? What was it
No,
about?
I think his finest moment was his defense of Brett Kavanaugh, who's a terrific guy, and was treated very, very unfairly by the Democrats. Very unfair. I've never seen anything like it. Maybe the worst I've ever seen anyone treated. That includes me. Well, maybe not me, but it includes just about everybody. He was treated so unfairly, and Lindsey, as you remember, had that moment. And you know, I'll tell you, Jake, I think it was the top 10, maybe a top 5 moment in the history of the Senate. It was an incredible display. And he did it from the heart. He felt strongly about Brett, and he did it from the heart. And it turned that whole thing around. He was really amazing. That was one they should replay.
Well, I know you don't want to talk about any other issues out of respect for Lindsey Graham, but we would love to have you back sometime because I do have a lot of other questions for you, sir.
Sure. We'll do that. We'll do that.
Thank you for calling
We're trying
in.
to
Yeah.
have CNN go in a normal path, and we'll do that.
Well, I'm on a normal path right here, sir, and I appreciate your time.
Good.
And thank
You
you for
are.
calling in.
Okay. Thanks a lot.
Thanks so much. We'll be right back after this quick break.
He's like, we're just trying to get CNN on a normal path. I'll call you back and we'll talk about some issues. But all of them did that. All of them were like, Mr. President, I want to talk about the Strait of Hormuz. He's like, I don't want to talk about that right now. I want to talk about Lindsey Graham. Now, today's a different story. Now we can talk about it. But it's important to, give Lindsey Graham his flowers, if you will. The medical examiner released the preliminary findings yesterday after Lindsey Graham's sudden death. And we'll tell you about what they said when we get back. 205-545-9950. Your phone calls as well right here on the line.